Okay, so last video we discussed the different letters of the Myers-Briggs system. So now we're going to dig into the function stacks a little bit and how they relate to one another and things like that. So I'm going to reference a couple of things. So we'll make this really simple. So you've got there's eight function stacks. And everybody generally uses about 4 of them. They're all present in all of us at all times, but at different strength levels. So the first 4, we call them your dominant, and then your auxiliary, and then your tertiary, and then your inferior. Some people call your dominant your pilot, your auxiliary is your co-pilot. Oh, I should learn how to spell. Co-pilot. Tertiary is your 10-year-old, and your inferior is your 3-year-old. Now these terminology comes from a podcast and website called Personality Hacker. They are a great resource for information. Personality Hacker. Yeah, I'm really bad at spelling. So Personality Hacker, just Google them. They're really good. They've got some great information. And that's where I got a lot of this. And I like their model. So they do pilot, co-pilot, 10-year-old, 3-year-old, and they do it like you're driving in a car. Like, does this even look like a car? We're doing top down here. So, you know, you got your steering wheel here, and then you got your pilot, your co-pilot, your 10-year-old, and then your 3-year-old. So, pilot, co-pilot, 10-year-old, 3-year-old. And so basically the pilot drives the car. That's your dominant stack. Let's actually write that here. Function stack. Or cognitive function stack. So anyways, your pilot is your driving stack, so that is how you lead. That is how you interact with the world. Your co-pilot helps you make decisions and can sometimes take over driving every once in a while, and it's not a bad thing when that happens. Your 10-year-old is called that because it generally has the maturity level of a 10-year-old, and it provides information up to the front ones, and but should probably never take over the car. It does happen sometimes. There is something called a cognitive loop, and that's when you kind of bypass your auxiliary function and bad things happen. And then your 3-year-old is back here and is mostly, which the driver is mostly unaware of. I like to call the 3-year-old is your subconscious function. This is my theory. So your subconscious function, whereas these 3 are all your conscious functions. And we'll dig into that in a little bit here. So I like their model. It makes things a little bit easier to understand, as well as how they describe each of the cognitive stacks makes it, again, really easy to understand. So I said before, there's 8 stacks, or eight cognitive functions, I should call it, and each one behaves in a different way, and it is broken down like this. So you have your intuition, you have, so it's intuition and sensing, feeling, and thinking. So everybody has all of these functions, and they are abbreviated with an I for an introverted function, or an E for an extroverted function. So this is true in absolutely everybody. You have all of these. It's supposed to be little I's. And so you have a combination of any one of these. So I'm going to use myself as an example a lot because I have done the most studying on my own type. every other type is just through observation, and I have not observed all types since I started this journey of mine. So sometimes it will be just straight theory with no observations, and sometimes it will be backed up by how I've actually seen these people behave and my relationships with them. So we'll get into it. So an ENTP, so how this works is I lead, or I'm dominant with my extroverted intuition, and then next, because I'm a thinking type, I have thinking in the first two, so and in my case is introverted thinking, and then we go to extroverted feeling, and then introverted sensing. And then I have all my shadow functions, which is basically the exact opposite. And we call them shadows because they're not really there, but they can sometimes pop up when you're under cognitive stress, which is any kind of stress that you could be under. Could be anything that could make you cause you to behave out of character or out of type. But yeah, we won't get too much into that right now. So that's basically your function stack. So my shadow would be an I, T, E, F, I, and S, E. So that's basically all 8 of the stacks. And so this is an ENTP, and this one is an INTJ. So we're both NTs, and on the 16personalities.com we're analysts. Okay, so the analyst types, we'll get into them in a little bit here, but they're the NT types, so your middle 2 letters are NT, so that includes ENTP, INTP, INTJ, and ENTJ. And kind of depending on how each of these stacks sit with each other, kind of also depends on how they behave. So that's how my whole personality theory is based, is how the function stacks interact with each other to cause how you function as a personality. So let's dig into ENTP, because I know myself quite well. And I'll give you some insight into how I think and how this all functions down, or how it all plays together.